I think it would be hilarious to go live and have them on. Yes, if nothing else, it would be like a reality podcast. Luca Nation, welcome back to Lucas Tigers and Bronzo My, episode 604. Really looking forward to today's episode. We'll talk about Ja Morant's 50-point game. The Lakers are reeling. Herbert versus Burrow, because I think I'm going to give you guys a contrarian play, despite what everyone's saying right now that Herbert's having, one of the best young seasons of all time. We'll talk about, maybe we'll go into. Did you see Peterson on the Braves? He said it's going to get interesting once this lockout's resolved. Get ready for some awesome free agency moves. Did you see that tweet?
No, but I mean, it does make sense. It's nothing's happened. And they're going to have to squeeze it all in.
How are they going to do that, though? That's going to be hella awkward, right? Because when you make these free agent moves, people have to move cross country. They have to pick up their things. They have to get a house. They have to get all this stuff. And in a shortened off season, how's that going to impact players?
If it were you or I, making $25,000, $30,000 a year, and we'd have to move across town with our family, sure. But, the free agents we're talking about are all making, 7 figures, some 8, some contracts will be 9 figures. So I'm not that concerned about them having to move.
You're not?
It happens. They'll be fine.
Do you think that it will favor pitchers early on in the season?
I think what will favor pitchers, the fact that they're not going to be prepping for as much time.
Correct.
So it cuts both ways, and really depends on what they do with the ball more than anything. But pitchers actually, the reason why pitchers and catchers report is, pitchers actually take a couple more weeks to stretch out and get up to their actual playing. Usually the position players only need about 4 weeks. The pitchers need about 6. So, normally I would say, all right, the pitchers are going to have an advantage, especially early on in the season, cold weather, all that other fun stuff. Ball doesn't fly as much like when it does in the middle of the summer when it's hot. But no, I think it'll counterbalance. And it depends. If they use the ball they used last year, pitchers will be favored. If they use the ball they used the year before that, hitters will be hitting it out of the park.
I want to start with a little bit something different today. And maybe
Nice.
you could put your CEO hat on, because the complaints aren't stopping, and this company's pushing along in a different direction. But behind them, they're leaving a wake, right? And they're leaving a wake of a lot of unhappy, displeased, and very loyal fans and followers of the platform. And I'm talking about none other than StarStock. So a few weeks ago, Well, I'll explain to you why I'm saying this. It's not me. I don't have my cards at StarStock, but people in our community do. They have their cards at StarStock, and StarStock's not getting those cards back to people. They're not paying people out, but they're making, they're going 100% forward with StarStock NFTs, right? And I want you to put on your maybe StarStock CEO hat or maybe a lawyer hat. And how do we help these people? What do you recommend for people who have cards at StarStock, who have money in the StarStock account, and they haven't received their cards or their money?
Well, I mean, it depends on the specific situation. So I'm not going to wear a CEO hat. I'm going to put on a Raiders gnome hat. That's what I'm going to wear, like a garden gnome, and I'll let the garden gnome and the Raider hat answer. Right?
Okay, cool.
So
I think that's basically who's been running the company anyway. So
what I would say about this, he's got a football too. He's got a football and a cane. It's pretty awesome. So that's a hat. So there you go, with the hat. Put the hat on. So
this is not Cage talking. This is
the garden gnome talking.
The garden gnome.
The garden gnome. The Raider gnome. The Raider gnome is talking. No, it depends on the situation, right? I mean, if you're telling me that people are reaching out to you saying, I have asked for my money, I have asked for my cards, and I'm getting no response, or they are refusing to do that, that would surprise me. I would tell them that we should probably try to help with that. We do know people at StarStock, even though we have not had a partnership or sponsor with them for quite some time now. I would be surprised if they're not paying out. I mean, if someone's asking for the money that's in there, I'd be surprised if they're not getting that money, whether it be by check or whoever it is. It's going to be. It takes a little while. It takes to be processed. the cards, the cards, it seems like right now, at least the last we talked about this, which was about a month ago maybe, that there was a charge per card. And if the issue is that people don't want to pay the charge per card, that's very different than saying I asked for my cards back and they're ignoring me or they're not giving them back to me. So while I can understand people's frustration on it, I 100% can. If it's really just we have an issue with the 50-cent charge, which I would have an issue with also. I have cards there. I have a lot of cards in my vault. I'm not paying 50 cents per card to get them back. I wouldn't pay anything to get them back, to be honest. That's a valid point. And what I would say is maybe as a hobby community, member, and maybe as kind of like, an everyday voice for the people, which I think we kind of have become. Maybe what we do is either in our Discord or through Instagram, maybe we let people kind of open up, hey, I asked for my stuff back. I don't want to call it like a complaint thing, but, you wanted me to put my lawyer hat on. It would be sort of like trying to put a class of people together, right? Not talking about lawsuits or anything like that, but normally what I would think is that a company, whether it be StarStock or anyone else, would be more inclined to listen if you were approaching them saying, hey, here's the 50 different customers of yours that are this is what they're saying. All 50 of them saying the exact same thing. They're all saying you're holding their cards hostage. What can we do to get these people their cards back? What can we do to get them their money if people are really not getting their money, So, we could do that. But every situation is going to be different. Everybody has got a different amount of cards. Everybody has got a different situation. If it's one of these where it's like, hey, they're charging me a couple $100 to get my cards back, we could ask StarStock how long that's going to be the case.
Why would failed leadership take it out on their loyal customers, the people who have supported their business from day one?
But what are they taking out? Like, I don't have specific facts, right? So what are they taking out?
They're not answering people's messages or emails or DMs.
Problematic.
They're not paying out the balances in the StarStock account, and they added this 50-cent fee per card at some point during the last year, but that was not advertised when initially these people sent the cards in.
Right. So I don't know when they added it, but obviously, if it's part of the platform and using it. Listen, what I would need to know is what are people being told? If it's nothing, that's bad. If it's, hey, we don't have your money to give you back, I doubt that's the case. We'd need to know if it's one person complaining.
Well, here's what I think is happening. They've let go most of their staff. The gentleman who runs the company and his puppet young kid in front of him have moved on to StarStock NFT, and they have no headcount to go and deal or process or desire to go and deal and process with their former business, which was raw cards and money in people's vaults. Now they're moved on to StarStock NFT. So what I would do is, as I'm waiting, I would make sure that StarStock NFT doesn't get off the ground. I would make sure that other customers who potentially would join a remint or anything that these guys are doing, I would be on Twitter following this account and let them know what kind of company they're dealing with.
Okay. I mean, listen, if somebody has a legitimate gripe, that that's what
this isn't one person. This isn't one DM I've gotten. This is I get 3 to 4 DMs every week.
All right, so why don't we collect the DMs and send them on to StarStock and make sure that they know about them?
But they have how like there's like canned responses on Gmail?
Yes.
They have the canned responses.
Which is
nothing worth of substance. Like, oh yeah, we know, we're trying to get to all of them. Or yeah, like the way we have organized the cards, it would take a lot of time to send these cards back to individuals because of how they were categorized.
All right, but take a lot of time doesn't mean they're not doing it. Look, we've sent cards to PSA in 2020 that we're still waiting on for group subs. So
have you noticed the comments that PSA is now getting on their Instagram posts?
No.
A lot, not the same sentiment that it was a year ago. A lot more people that are very frustrated with the new pricing. A lot of people that are frustrated that they haven't got their cards back since August 2020, even though the catch-up date is through.
Right, the complete through date, yeah. Which I think is just, I don't even know why they post that when it's clearly not accurate.
I don't know,
it's
man.
just that most cards are complete through there, or they're 99%. But it seems maybe the 1% is the angry and vocal. I did see a comment on more PSA's post last week where they showed, hey, look at this cool card that got graded here, and the first 5 responses were, I don't care about that. Give me my cards back from 2020. So yeah, I did see that.
By the way, I'm a big fan of that, because in a space where we can't really hold companies accountable because there's no real regulatory body in sports cards, I think the consumers need to hold companies accountable. And even if that means, okay, maybe you're not getting your cards or your money back in a timely manner, maybe you could save someone, you could spare someone the heartache that you've had by leaving that comment. So now when someone is thinking, do I submit my cards to StarStock or ComC? I see all of the negative comments under StarStock. All of these people can't be lying. I'm going to go with ComC. All of these negative comments about how PSA isn't caught up on any cards, maybe I'll choose a different grading company. I'd love to see that. It's you're doing the people's work.
So that's good. So why don't we go a step further because of the platform we have? Why don't we invite StarStock on? I know
I don't want them on, Cage.
Why not let them? Because
we've had them on 3 times.
No, but what we're doing now is we're airing it without any type of actual response at all from them. And you could put a comment on a Twitter post, you can put a comment on an Instagram post. But if our people, if you're right, and you have 3 or 4, and you have dozens of people from our audience, then why not let those questions be answered directly by StarStock? Invite them on. Say, hey guys, we're getting a lot of this feedback. According to Andrew, he's sending you emails. Gmail is a canned response. Let's not get a canned response. Why don't you let us know what the plan for moving forward is? We know what the business plan, what the business model is going forward with the NFTs, but what about all the people who have their cards? What about the money that people have, in their accounts? I will tell you personally, I didn't have a lot of money in the account. Remember, I did this for Ian. I put in cards that, we had just baseball rookies from boxes that we opened up and stuff like that.
Now I'm even more mad. They screwed over Ian.
No. So I only had a couple $100 of value in my cards. And because I bought a Luka Prism PSA 10 and a Zion Prism PSA 10 at like the peak in StarStock. And then sold them for like 10% of what, so didn't exactly manage that really well. But anyway, I asked for my money and I got it. It took almost 2 weeks to get it back, but it was only a couple $100 and I got it. It was sent certified mail. So I can only speak to my own personal experience. The cards, I have not asked for them back, but that's because I read the site and it says 50 cents per card. I did put in a thing that said, hey, maybe I'll take back these 10 cards. These cards I like. Maybe I'll take my I have some Devontae Grahams in there. Maybe I'll take some of those back. But yeah, I didn't even do it because I didn't ask for the card. So I can't tell you how long it takes or whether I got rejected. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe at the end of this episode, I'll ask, hey, I want these cards back and see how long it takes. I can tell you I asked for, it was a couple $100. And I got a check made out to Ian. So that'll go in his.
It's probably because we have a platform, but my frustration is we have enough to deal with. We want to run a successful NFT project and do right by our customers. We have a show every single day. We have an amazing content team. Alex, Manny, MBT, Shane, who really do an amazing job putting out a variety of different content so that you guys could, benefit from it. Manny's doing an amazing job with his auction show every Monday, recapping, what sales have happened from the past weekend and how they're going to impact the market. I don't want to get messages from people in our community that are being screwed over by the business. It frustrates me a lot.
Okay, so you're frustrated.
I feel out of control. I can't do anything, but I feel their frustration. And I feel like our audience is our friends. And I wouldn't do that to a friend.
But wouldn't having them on, you say you don't want to have them, wouldn't having them on actually do something?
I think it would be hilarious to go live and have them on. Yes. If nothing else, it would be like a reality podcast.
Yeah.
To read the comments.
Let you people ask the questions, right? That's the deal, right? They're not potential customers. These are actual customers. These are people who, have their cards and their money with you.
And they trusted you. Just send the cards back, give people the money, and then move on and create another business.
Listen, I get the frustration. I get, you're trying to be a mouthpiece for the folks who are complaining to you. I would imagine that each situation is, individually separate. And what I would say is the best thing is we've now, shined a light on it. anyone from StarStock or anyone connected to StarStock, you hear us. I mean, when we finish this up, I'll send a message. I'll text, StarStock CEO, Scotty Greenberg, and I'll say, listen, we talked about it on the show today. We'd love to have you on, kind of answer some of the questions that are being posed by a lot of our audience. Other than that, I mean, I think that is what why people will message you, right? I think most other people will probably just ignore it. You might even respond something like, that's not my business, and we're not partners with them, for a very long time. And that's, what do you want me to do? But you don't do that. Instead, you take up the mantle and you bring it here, and you shine a light on it. Let's go one step further. Let's use our platform, and try to get some answers for people. I don't know whether or not they will come on, but all we can do is try with, this vehicle that we've created here.
Luca Nation, if you guys are listening, on top of what Cage suggestion, and you're very level-headed.
I try, not all the time.
We've talked taxes so far. We've talked Mint Mobile and StarStock, so I'm a little frustrated. But you guys listening, you probably have better ideas than I. What can we do in this situation, which is an unpleasant situation for customers? We'll table it. Shoot us a DM. We'll think about it. Just know that you are heard loud and clear, and I'm equally as frustrated as you guys on this matter. Now, maybe something a little nicer.
Yeah,
Ja with like the game of the year, huh?
So let's set this up. So as we're recording, bloop, bloop, bloop,
Yeah.
bloop, just texts like crazy going on here, because I do all the stuff from my ridiculous iPhone 4, so I can't have like 47 screens. It's it's the whole deal. I got this screen, and our crew. The people who work with us, the backbone, the nervous system of Luca Nation, we're having a conversation. It's, hey, we should rekindle the Ja versus Luca debate without any real color to what that means, right? And that frustrates Andrew more than anything. He's like, what debate? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, what are you even talking about?
Have a tape. Have an angle. Have a tape.
The texts are really funny because it's like, hey, just what you should talk about it, and well, what should I talk about? Well, the fact that Ja is scoring, that's not a take. It's just, that's not a take. The texts back are really funny. This isn't a take. Just because you like Luca, it's not a take to be mad that Ja's getting some credit. That's not a take. You gotta give me something to say. So, do you have something to say? Ja had a good game. Ja had his career high of any Grizzly ever.
I mean, what's my take? I love watching the Grizzlies team play. They've turned a corner this year. They are a team. I mean, the Grizzlies historically haven't been a winning franchise. I think their best player probably was Zach Randolph. I love that guy, by the way. He's hilarious. But like, they're not a winning franchise. And to see a young team build straight up through the draft, right? And not like number one picks. Like, I mean, they got lottery picks, but Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dillon Brooks, and Ja, like, these were afterthoughts. And to see Tyus Jones, he played at Duke, but he's their backup point guard. Like, just to see a team that came together, everyone knows their role, and to be happy for each other. I don't know what the take is. I'm happy for them. If I'm holding Ja cards, just from a profit standpoint, this might be a time to exit.
Definitely. If you're looking for my take, that's it. Sell, and sell now.
And it doesn't have to be all of them. Let's say you have 10 Ja cards. You could take sell 3, hold 7, because I still believe he has an incredible upside. But his cards aren't running, and people are. It's funny. Alex, who creates our IG content, he had a card listed on my slabs, like a rare one. And as soon as he hit that halftime shot, he said someone just scooped it and hit buy it now. And that's how FOMO works, right? And I would say that the only difference between Luca and Ja, Luca already had his run. Luca cards have had their run. Luca was the darling of the hobby the last 2 years. Ja was in this weird place stuck between Trey and Luca. He was flashy and a good dunker, but the jury was out. Can he lead a winning team? Can he shoot? Can he do other things? And what I think he's proving to the market is, dude, this is a bona fide superstar and a 1, 2, or 3 MVP candidate. He now shoots the 3 a lot better. His free throw shooting is a lot better. So, I mean, I think the only difference in Luca and Ja, Luca had his run up during the bubble. Ja's having his run now. But
I listen. I love the take. I will tell you, I was on Ja before the season. Go back and listen to the recordings. I will ask people. I'm sure there's some Ja fans out there, but Ja shouldn't have been as cheap as he was. But you have made a good comparison. It's not a take, but you're right. FOMO. That's how it works, right? And you have to balance upside, right? And I know the Ja lovers are going to come out. The people holding Ja. Anybody who's holding Ja cards right now, no matter when you bought it, you are in profit. This is a high point, right? So if you sell your Jaws right now, you will be in profit, right? Even if you bought last week, right? He's now had a run of really good games. The cards are more now than they were last week. If you bought early, if you bought last year, you bought whenever it is, you are in profit right now. I cannot say if that's going to be the case tomorrow, next week, or next month. So what we do when we start to do an analysis of this is we look at what has happened in the past, right? If you forget what happened, you're doomed to repeat it. And the Luka analysis is a great one. That bubble shot. I'll compare, although, look, remember, let me get back to it. I'll compare that shot yesterday, that 52-point game, to the bubble where you have with Luka. That shot where he hit the one great shot, right? And he had the one playoff win, the three-pointer. It was a top shot moment. It was a whole to-do. And everything went nuts. His Prism base was 2,000. Now, I get it. There's been a lot of population increase since then, a lot of differences in the market, you name it. But the Jazz had a lot of population increase also on a lot of his cards. If you would have sold at that moment, when FOMO was at its peak on Luka, you'd be doing great because the Luka market has only gone down since then. And you could even make an argument that going into the All-Star break, Luka had a week just like what Ja is having now. Both teams are middle of the West pack. The Grizzlies are a little higher, the Dallas a little lower. But if they happen to, fall into a slot where they meet each other in the first round, Memphis isn't going to like that. And when you balance out all this fun stuff, is it possible that Ja has a couple more great games during this season? Sure. Could the Cards go up another 10% from where they are now? Sure. Could he make the playoffs and even have a Luka-type playoff moment? 100%. Definitely sure, right? And 10%, 15%, 20% from where they are now, there is some potential upside, but you have to balance that against the more likely downside that happens if he doesn't score 50 again, if the team falters a little bit and some of the other teams pass them in the West, right? And maybe they fall to now a road team, or maybe they don't. And eventually, I believe, though, they will be eliminated from the playoffs. I do not think this is a team that is going to win the championship this year, right? So you're going to have an offseason after they've been eliminated where he doesn't have a chip and he's not playing. And even if he makes the championship, here's another comparison on the other side, right? On the other side, it's Joe Burrow, right? A very similar comparison. Couple years in the league, young player, lots of expectations. Coming into the season, not a huge, talk about him by a couple people besides me. And he did great. And I was wrong on Burrow when the playoffs started, right before the playoffs. I sold my one big Joe Burrow card. I did. And it went up. It had a 10 or 15% run when he went to the Super Bowl. But what happened? And this is a guy who went to the Super Bowl. He didn't win the Super Bowl. And the cards have retraced. Not one of ones, not, we're not talking about, national treasures, flawless. We're talking about the general population, the majority of people who listen to the show who may have a Ja one of one card. And I mean one and one, like Alex had, right? I'm talking about the cards that are, not Prism Gold rookies. I'm talking about your normal cards. I believe, and it really comes down to what your belief is if you're a holder of Ja's cards, that the amount of potential downside from this moment right now is more than the potential upside.
Can I just caveat this just so people understand?
Shoot.
Cards aren't that crazy price right now either. Like some rare cards have gone up.
Yep.
But his Silver Prism PSA 10 is the exact same price as Zion's Prism PSA 10.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So at the same time, like, he's having an incredible season, but it's not all of his cards that are doing well. It's
that gets back to the question of our base and silver's investable anymore.
I mean, there was a time where everyone's like, forget the base, go for the silver. Now people don't want to touch silver with a 10-foot pole.
Yep.
It's the narrative. Now people are going for one of ones. Color matches are very cool. One of one. They just flipped Zion's one of one.
Panini 1 and 1. Look at this. It's thousands of dollars. Go get it. Point being, guys, There's a lot of Ja cards out there. I'll even point you to one in my play today. But my thought on Ja is, think about how many times this has happened. Think about how many times this has happened to a superstar player, right? And you don't get extra money for being a diamond-handed hodler. You don't. You get to brag, hey, I'm holding through thick and thin. I'm a diamond hands. But diamond hands, more times than not, are the ones who have less value in what they're holding than if they would have sold at the peak, if they would have sold into a run-up. It's one of the things Andrew has taught me during the NFT craziness. You know, when there is a lot of demand for something, it's a lot easier to sell into that strength.
So much easier.
The job market might not get any stronger than it is now. It might, but you have to balance that equity.
And let's contextualize that. It might not get stronger than it is now. It's not like a one-day market. We're talking
Correct.
The month of March.
Yeah.
From like, so you, point being.
100%. And guys, I'm also not saying that Ja is a bad investment to hold for long term. I mean, Ja may improve on this season. He improved last season or this season. He may be a great player for a long-term hold and turn into a multi-MVP player who maybe wins a championship or two or something like that. And he could be a great investment. And 3 years from now, people will be like, oh, that Cage, he was dead wrong. He told us
He reminds me a lot of MVP season Derrick Rose.
We've talked about that. Rose had more wins.
Not the injury and all that. Don't go that direction. I'm just talking about style of play. He's able to dominate inside and out. His teammates loved him. They have a team that was so cohesive, drastically exceeded expectations. No one had the Grizz being a 3, even potentially a 2 seed, because the Warriors are a little bit banged up. Grizzlies are streaking. So
I'm with you. It's a great comparison. The two things people miss about the comparison: one, 60-win team for Derrick Rose, which the Grizzlies are not going to be a 60-win team unless they win out. And the second one is that when Rose had the numbers that he had, there were very few people putting up 25 points a game.
Yeah.
And now you have a 25-point scorer on every team, sometimes 2. So, when you compare just numbers to numbers, what Rose did from a team perspective, from those numbers compared to what the rest of the league was doing, think of it like a baseball, like a wins above replacement, like a WAR type of analysis. It's great to compare the numbers. The two things that get missed are there. Can I, before we move on?
Sure. I want to say one thing real quick on that.
Yeah, shoot.
I want to give a take. You guys tell me right, wrong, or no. I think the NBA, top to bottom, is way better now than it was in 2008. So when Rose won the MVP and he was 60-game wins, I think of how competitive the NBA is now. It's more competitive now than it is then. Tell me if you guys agree, disagree. That's my take. And I watch the games. Sorry, go ahead, Coach.
I mean, listen, there's not many investable folks, rookies from, 04 through 08 other than Kevin Durant.
Chris Paul, LeBron, Wade, Melo.
Yeah, well, I said 04
the top of the
because
top.
I left out the 03. But yeah, you're right. I mean, but the point is, but we may look back in a couple of years and say, wow, that Zion, he really did turn out to be Greg Oden, and Ja turned out to be Durant, and Luka is sort of, LeBron-ish, and, may just be the same type of thing. People do fizzle out. You know what I mean? When you have these rookies, think of like Brandon Roy, right? Think of these, these guys who were supposed to be, big time players coming out of college. And they have a year, they have 2 years, they have 4 years, and then they just turn into nothing. When you look back, like we're doing now 15 years back to look at 08, if you go 15 years from now, we might also be saying, wow, the league was really good. Luka was good, and Ja was good, and you had an aging LeBron, and,
Durant, it's going to be cool to see how the game is played, because in 2008, no one was shooting 53s a game like the Rockets did. No one was pulling up from the logo and doing what Curry does. It was a much more fun,
very different game.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say, and this also, it speaks to the difference of the game. One thing, and maybe I'm just an idiot and I don't watch men undress, and you watch the game, so you watch men undress more than I do. There was a thing that I saw when Ja dropped the 50-point game. He made a promise to one of his friends, who I guess is at every game, that he'd give the jersey to his pal for the first time he drops 50 points. So he walks over to him at the end of the game, and you see him take his jersey off. And what I noticed was what I call a flak jacket. So when you play football, you wear a lot of padding, right? So you have pants with hip pads, a tail pad, for your spine. Obviously, you wear a cup. You put shoulder pads on. But players who had injuries or were injury prone or were trying to protect their ribs wore what was called a flak jacket. It was, a tight fitting under the shoulder pads that cover your ribs, some on the backside of your ribs, you name it. When Ja took his jersey off, he was wearing a form-fitting, Under Armour Nike compression type, thing with pads on his ribs. Under
you never seen those?
I had never seen an NBA player wearing pads before. Again, I don't watch men undress as much as you. We talked about that, but
they wear that. It's like those little what do I call it? They wear them on their thighs too, so they don't get dead legs.
Pads, so that they don't get hit. Like
they're not traditional NFL pads. They're like foam.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's flak jacket was just foam. Also, it's not like hard. Yeah. It's exactly foam is exactly what it is. I had just never seen that, and I guess maybe he's going down the lane enough. He's falling down.
Elbows, knees. It's to protect from elbows and knees, and dead legs because there's a lot of knee to quad and knee to ribs.
Yeah, I had never even seen that. I mean, I never thought of basketball as a sport being played wearing pads. So,
can you please, people out there play basketball? No one would consider them pad. They're like compression with just a little bit of an extra foam barrier to protect your ribs and to protect your.
Right? I mean, it's not shoulder pads, right?
Yeah, it's not shoulder pads.
It's not hard plastic. I know what you're saying, and it's a good distinction to make. I don't want people listening to this to think that people wearing shoulder pads playing basketball. Right. It's not. But it was. I was surprised. Because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I watched basketball in a different generation. I don't think, these other guys in the 90s, they were wearing shorts down to their, their ankles. So they could have had anything under there. They could have been carrying guns. Some of them were. But I had just never seen that. I watched the clip today and I was like, wow, he's got padding on his ribs. Fine. Maybe that with health and the working out and the whole, maybe that's adding to the longevity of these players. Maybe they're now taking better care of themselves, not just with the nutrition and diet and workout, but also they're wearing padding. Less broken ribs, I guess. He
kind of killed the gritty, right? The dance.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't do it as well as I do it, but we're gonna save that for the national, for Tiger holders only. It's Tiger holder event. Cage.
Which team do you think has more fun, the Mavs or the Grizz?
Probably the Grizz, but the Mavericks, you don't pull a comeback like they had in the fourth quarter unless you're playing for each other. You know what I mean? They're having fun, and they're obviously a team. I mean, I don't know whether KP was a cancer in the clubhouse or whatever it is, but I got to tell you, I don't care where they're seated. I wouldn't want to face that Mavericks team. I mean, Luka could turn it on at any time, but that run wasn't Luka. They play good team defense, which you don't want to see in the playoffs. So,
and they have three ISO scorers now: Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway, and Luka.
Dinwiddie was a nice ad. People aren't talking about that. That was a nice ad. As an ISO scorer, hits a bucket. Luka could drive, kick it out. He could hit the jump shot. He's a nice little piece for them.
I would agree. I would agree. I like Dinwiddie. Drafted by Detroit, actually.
Yep. We have a rookie auto. I paid $11 for it. It's like a hoops rookie auto because Ian in the revolving door of Nets because he's a Brooklyn guy. I told him I was born in Brooklyn, and he's like, I'll be a Brooklyn fan. So he's rotated through Jaron Allen and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Your betting strategy on Brooklyn has been phenomenal because with Kyrie, they're the best team in the league. They could beat the Bucks, even though that was a revenge game. And then without Kyrie, they get blown out by the Raptors. Without Van Vliet, without anyone.
It's tough. It's tough to expect the team to be able to just turn it on and turn it off like that. And it's completely. You've talked about this more than anybody I know. That basketball is a team game. Yes, it can be won by isolation scorers. Yes, it can be more controlled. The teams that have the best players usually are the better teams, and one player can make more of a difference in basketball than any other sport that we talk about. But the teams that play team ball, like you mentioned the Heat. When we first started doing this, you said the Heat's going to make a run. They play great team ball, like the Bucks playing good team ball. You've talked about Dallas, like I just did, about how they play great team defense. You can't develop a cohesive team play when the style of play is completely different, whether Kyrie's there one game, the next game. Now, it's one thing if he's out for 8 weeks and you got to develop a style for when he's not there. But if you're playing a completely different game, one night in, one night out, that's hard. So that was my take.
What might be the Heat's downfall? Too much toughness. Now, you probably never thought you'd hear me say that, but Yeah, NBA, you need tough players, but they're so tough, they kind of like maybe use up all their energy on defense. Think about it. They have Lowry, PJ Tucker, man. PJ Tucker, that guy is
Slow.
that guy's tough. What'd you say?
I say he's slow.
He is
That
slow,
guy's
man, but he's on the ground for every ball.
yeah.
He's fighting for every ball, man. He plays above. He punches above his weight. That's what it's called, right? You
Yep.
have Jimmy Butler and Bam. Like, dude, I'm very very excited for the NBA playoffs. I know there's still a little bit away, but this last stretch is gonna be really really fun.
Right before we get into plays, get into your Michael Porter Jr. cards now before you can. People are already steaming those up on the talk of him coming back, right?
This is one. Please don't hold into the season.
Yeah.
Here's why. We've already seen this. We've seen that team, that roster doesn't work with MPJ on it. We saw it in the bubble. And it's not like that they're going to automatically kick it into gear and he's going to be a 20, 30-point scorer. I think he might actually hurt their chemistry with Murray and Jokic and Porter. I don't think he's a play. I think you should sell him before he steps on the court.
Fair, valid. You got to play?
I don't think he fits their system. I really don't think he fits their system.
I mean, he could be good somewhere else. I'm just happy he's coming back. Think about it this way.
He'd be good on the Lakers.
When the news went down, when he was basically, needing back surgery and he's out and back, and he may be done forever. Who would have bet money that he would be back before Zion?
Right. Was that you?
No, but people would have. I mean, I'm sure that was the thought. People were definitely. He's done. He may never play again. Zion will be back in a couple weeks. Zion will be back.
Well, this is why you guys should listen to our fractional show. About maybe 3-4 weeks ago, we were talking about his contenders 1-of-1 auto. That card was selling at $5,000 from IPO to 21, I think. I mean, I haven't checked it today, but I imagine that card.
All of his stuff is up. All of his stuff's been up the last couple of hours. He's got.
It was sold off so much. It was sold off more than anything. Zion wasn't sold off to the amount that MPJ was.
Nope. No, because there was a lot of reaction. People thought he would potentially was done, and you might not get anything out of it. He may not even come back, and now he's back. Who knows what he does when he comes back? But
I'll give my play. My play is not going to be a card. My play is this, guys. So we hop on here every day and we do a show. We obviously say a lot of words and we talk a lot. And if taken out of context, you could take a quote that I said, maybe 12 months ago about Ja only being a scorer inside and not having a jump shot, and meaning that I'm not a fan of his. But that's not the case. You can separate two things. You could be a fan of a player and love to see how he evolves as a player, right? He comes in, maybe he's a great dunker, but then in year 2, he has a mid-range shot. And by year 3, he's a great passer. And by year 4, he could shoot from 3. And you see this guy develop an all-around game. But you should also know when to sell a card. And selling a card doesn't mean you don't believe in the guy. I think that's very, very, very important to realize. Like right now, let's say you're sitting on $10,000 invested in Ja cards, and it's $23,000 worth if you just take your whole portfolio. Taking $13,000 off the table, selling his cards, doesn't mean that you don't think that Ja's going to have a stellar career, or he could be the next, like you compared him to Kevin Durant in the sense that he could be an MVP.
Yep.
It just means that you made a good investment and there's time to take your chips off the table. So I want people to realize that distinguish. You could believe in the guy. And I think that's partially what happened with Luka in card prices. His cards have run up so much since 2018 to 2022. People eventually were like, I still love Luka, but I really want some money off the table. And you saw his silver came down from 7,000 to 3,500. You saw even some of his higher price stuff has come down. So my point is, be able to separate believing in a player, being a fan, liking the guy, with sound investment decisions, especially when you're in profit. Because the worst thing is to turn a winning bet into a loser by holding on too long, in my opinion.
Makes sense. It makes total sense. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's so if you're holding Ja right now, you do a little bit of both. You say, all right, if I have more than one card, maybe I move some, maybe I move a little bit, but I don't have to tell them all.
I would hold the card that you love the most. I would sell the cards that you aren't as emotionally connected with. Don't sell your best. It's tough, man. Selling is not easy. Here, I never want to sell your best stuff, but oftentimes your best stuff is the stuff that gets the most money.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a dichotomy.
Listen, I got a cool one. I got a cool play. You can go Ja if you want with it. Although I wouldn't be buying Ja cards today because you're going to be paying a lot on them. But it is from one of your favorite releases, right? And guys, you can go football with this. You can
Absolute
go
memorabilia.
Absolute memorabilia, 100%. So let me give a little credit to Rogue one of our Tiger holders, but I think it's with a V instead of a U, traditional old Roman style. And he said, hey, you like those acetate type cards. I did a break this past week on Whatnot. And if you guys are not following us on Whatnot, you got to follow us on Whatnot. It's Luca Nation on Whatnot. Not only did we give away a Ja Court Kings out of 99 for free, Ian gave away a card at the end of this last week's session, but we did a box break of Elite. And one of our guys, our favorite farmer, he pulled a Ja auto in the break, and it was inexpensive. We did it with a couple packs per auction. Not expensive stuff. I'm not looking to make money on it. If I get a box, I'll break it with you guys. But basically, what I paid for it, and it was a lot of fun. So we say like that smash button and all that other fun stuff. But get on that Whatnot. We'll be there again Sunday. I sell some lots of cards. Booker, Curry. Just raw. Sell some slabs. I got a cool couple of LaMelo cards for this one, some SGC 10s for the one coming up. But definitely give us a follow on Luca Nation and jump on there. But one of the cool things in that break, there were a lot of cards that were like acetate, see-through. There was one called Clarity. There was one in the box. It was Tatum. It was really cool. Like you could see through it. There was a tidal wave card. I think we got Anthony Davis. But it was cool because on the top of the card, it was this wave, blue, and you couldn't see through it. But on the bottom, where it's a tidal wave, you could see through it. A lot of these cool, motion cards, you name it, kind of coming back in. So Rogue One, it's in this past year's 2021 Panini Absolute Memorabilia, but there are older ones too, and I think you're able to get them as a steal because not everybody's looking at them. But it's called it's Absolute Memorabilia Glass, GLASS Glass cards. Completely see-through. If you open your email, I just sent you a link to one if you wanted to share it to make it easy so you don't have to look too many. I sent you a LeBron. And a LeBron sold this week, February 24th, for like $300. Really cool looking card. They come encased. That's your favorite part of it, right? They come in like the slabs with the little Panini sticker on it. Kevin Durant from last year, the 1920, just sold on February 23rd this week for $88. These are case hit cards. By comparison, some of the rookies.
Now everyone knows your name.
That's okay. Go ahead. Scroll up.
Oh, these are sick.
That's cool, right? Cool stuff, right?
It literally is glass. If this was Breaking Bad, I would crush it up.
You could crush it up. It's actually a pretty thick piece of glass. The people are grading them. They look really cool. In slabs, there's a BGS 10 Luca from this year's already. It's last year, so it's on eBay. It sold this week, February 26th, for like $300 something. Really cool looking cards. Depending on who you like, if you're you're a Mobamba fan, you can get it pretty cheap. But you can get these things, from prior years for not a killer amount of money. There's an Edwards BGS 10. Ben Simmons was like 30 something bucks. If that's your guy, it's just a cool conversation piece card. You hold it up. It's a thick glass thing. If you take it out, I saw an Aaron Rodgers from 2016 sell for like $100 something this week. Well, 10 days ago. So they definitely sell their cool looking things. Back in 2003, the first one of these that were out there, they came in like plaques with an autograph on the base. Ernie Banks, $200 for the etched Absolute Memorabilia with his autograph. An Ernie Banks auto on there. Jeter didn't have an auto. Jeter had like a piece of a baseball, but Kawhi, nothing. Russell Westbrook, if that's your guy, less than $100. They're cool. It's something different. It's a cool thing to look at, and that's where I don't know if you've noticed, but that's where I'm kind of going with my picks on these things because we are all trying to, we're all trying to make money here. We're all trying to, to have fun in the hobby as well. I think the money comes when there's enough people in here having fun, right? When there's enough people in here collecting, wanting to stay. Part of what makes people want to stay is that they have a collection they're building up. We're probably gonna have the card ladder, team on at some point in time. We talk about the Christian McCaffrey collection. I think that's fun. I think that's cool, and maybe he doesn't have to pay a lot for it, and he's able to collect them. Christina collects Maxi Kleber. Who else is doing that? And that's fun, right? Yeah. So you're able to buy those cards. This is a cool one. It makes part of collecting kind of fun. And if find your guy, Giannis, $300. There's Ja rookies from 2019. They sell for a little bit of money, more than Zion. So take a look. It's a cool card. It's not. I have to tell you, because there's just so many cards out there and so many releases. Before today, I didn't even know this card existed. I didn't even know it was out there. So
kind of gives me the printing plate vibe, no?
Yeah, only the printing plate I don't really love because it looks like it's like an uglier version of the card. You know what I mean? It's got like ink kind of smears on it. It's metallic. It kind of just looks like this has I think a cooler aesthetic to it. I don't know, something about like the see-through. I like the see-through cards. It reminds me of like a family keepsake. When you go to like a theme park, you go to something and they'll etch in a glass cube. They'll make like a picture of your face, or they'll have like something in a glass like etching. It looks like art. This card kind of looks like art. So it's just one of those cool kind of things, right? Here's a Derek Jeter for $87. I love it.
Any thoughts on the economy as a whole? Bitcoin, crypto, stocks, cards, art, all interconnected.
Well, I think for the right assets as a hedge, look at that tray, $100. For the right assets, Bitcoin, gold, blue chip stocks, blue chip cards. I think people view these alternate asset classes as, as a hedge, right? As a hedge against inflation and as a hedge against, world issues like we're seeing both of right now. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. That doesn't mean stockpiling Michael Porter Jr. cards because we think that's going to be a hedge against inflation. But I believe there's a reason why Andrew saw and heard a lot of people looking for Mickey Mantle cards at the show in Atlanta, because that's the epitome of what people think of with this alternate asset class. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best investment. If you bought Mantle at the beginning of the year, you bought Ja at the beginning of the year, you're doing better with Ja. That said, people are more inclined, if they're looking to diversify their portfolio into art, to buy a well-known artist instead of an up-and-coming artist, even though the returns might be better on an up-and-coming artist. People are always, figuring out that risk-reward profile. So, yeah, the overall economy, definitely, it should bolster cards as an alternate asset class.
Are you State of the Union speech tonight?
Mm-hmm. Going to be a lot about Ukraine, obviously. You excited about that? No, you don't care. I'm happy to see Joe Biden's still alive because I haven't really seen him anywhere. So it'd be nice that he comes out and speaks, and we'll know he's still there because you don't really get to see him that often. So that's my take on the State of the Union. It's a cool thing. Let's hear how great the country's doing. Some round of applause and all that other fun stuff. I will say this, guys: be careful buying Kyrie Irving cards based on the headlines that he's coming back and playing, because he is not. I will explain to you very quickly before we log off here that while New York is lifting the mandates for wearing masks, and New York is lifting the mandates for in New York City to have a vaccination card to get into a place to eat and go to the gym and that kind of stuff, which is what they had. They are not lifting the private employer vaccine mandate. So basically, since the Nets are a private employer in the precincts of the city, the mandate that all private employers must require their employees to be vaccinated to work in the city is still in effect. And the mayor has said that he's not making an exception for Kyrie, and that's not on the table to go away anytime soon. It means the original reports that Kyrie could be coming back in a week are false. So if you were thinking, oh, let me get Kyrie, he's going to be back and he's going to be playing in the home games, he is not. That may change, but from the news articles that I'm reading, it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. Especially because 2 weeks ago, New York City just actually terminated a lot of their city workers for not being vaccinated. So
That would probably send the wrong message.
If the mayor was going to turn around 2 weeks, 3 weeks later and just get rid of that requirement, they probably wouldn't have fired all those people.
If I could give you an excuse for your homework, I would have to give an excuse for the homework of everybody in class.
Pretty much.
Well, if you need a hall pass to go to the bathroom, I'd have to give a hall pass to everybody in the class.
Chewing gum online. I hope you brought enough for everybody. That movie predates you. That's Blazing Saddles. That's a little Mel Brooks from the 70s there. But hall pass, my favorite is summer school.
I really like this hat. Can I wear this in school? No, no one can wear hats in school. If I give you an exemption, I'd have to let everybody in school wear hats. Wait, but wearing hats in school doesn't hurt anybody. Yeah, but if I gave you an exception, everybody would wear hats tomorrow.
Listen, man, as somebody who
America,
as somebody who has a medical marijuana exemption, you find a way around it. You find a way around it. There are ways. You want to wear your hat. I don't know.
Self-employed.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a way around it right there. Luke and H, this is a fun one. We hope you enjoyed the banter. We will, just to put a bow on the beginning of the episode, we will reach out to StarStock and see whether or not they want to come on and chat with you. We do take your your messages to us seriously.
Don't hold your breath. They're probably playing with NFTs.
But I mean, listen, there's only so much we can do, but we will invite them, and and we can hope that they will come and chat with us about the current status of everybody's cards and everybody's money, and maybe the future direction of the company. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I know there are a lot of you out there who want answers, and we'll do what we can to try to get them for you. Thanks, Illumination.